Kevin Stefanski just said the unthinkable about Dillon Gabriel's future. Nobody expected Kevin Stefanski to go there. Not on a quiet weekday media availability. Not with the season's intensity weighing on every word. And certainly not with cameras capturing every flicker of emotion on his face. Brown's head coaches are usually guarded, careful, impossibly calculated. Stefanski, more than most, speaks like a man who believes every sentence must be engineered, every phrase airtight, every syllable free from chaos. But this time, something shifted. Something in his voice cracked open, revealing a truth he had held close for much longer than anyone realized. And in that moment, he said something that instantly reshaped the narrative around one of the most intriguing young quarterbacks connected to Cleveland, Dillon Gabriel. It didn't come through some dramatic build-up. There was no tension in the room, no reporter poking with a loaded question, no headline chaser trying to stir controversy. It happened almost quietly, almost accidentally, the way emotional truth sometimes slips out before a person remembers they're supposed to hide it. Stefanski was asked about quarterback development. Nothing specific, nothing probing, just the usual coach speak opportunity to say something bland about the future. Instead, he paused, breathed in, stared at the podium for a second too long, and then said the words that stunned the room. "If Dillon Gabriel ever walks into our building," he said, slowly, deliberately, "I think he has a future here that people are not ready for." Silence. Not the polite silence of reporters preparing their next question. No, this was the kind of silence that happens when every single person suddenly feels the ground shift beneath them. Stefanski wasn't just giving a compliment. He wasn't offering analysis or breaking down film. He was making a statement, a rare, bold, completely un-Stefanski-like statement. He was speaking about potential with the tone of someone speaking about destiny. The unthinkable part wasn't that Stefanski liked Gabriel. It wasn't even that he hinted at organizational interest. It was that he openly acknowledged something deeper, something more dangerous to say out loud in the NFL. That he saw Gabriel as someone capable of reshaping the future of a franchise that has lived for decades inside quarterback uncertainty. Coaches are never that honest. They don't risk it. They don't give fans a reason to speculate or veterans a reason to worry. But Stefanski's voice carried a weight that could not be mistaken. He wasn't hyping. He wasn't selling. He was confessing. What made the moment so shocking was the contrast between who Stefanski usually is and who he briefly became. He is the definition of disciplined. A coach whose words rarely leave room for interpretation. But as he spoke about Gabriel, about the accuracy, the leadership, the composure, the toughness, something in his eyes softened, as though he wasn't just imagining a quarterback, but envisioning a blueprint for something long-term, something foundational, something new. A kind of belief that head coaches rarely show until the decision has already been made behind closed doors. This wasn't about comparing Gabriel to anyone currently on the roster. Stefanski refused to do that, and everyone knew he never would. This was about the spark he sees in the young quarterback, the very same spark that transformed mid-tier college prospects into late-round steals, into underdog champions, into quarterbacks who weren't supposed to be great but became unforgettable. And when Stefanski spoke, he didn't speak like a coach protecting the present. He spoke like a visionary watching the future unfold before his eyes. He talked about how Gabriel plays the game with a surgeon's calm, how his familiarity with chaos, pocket collapse, blitz pressure, defensive disguises, has hardened him into something sharper than scouts initially predicted. He talked about the way Gabriel approaches the game with a mixture of defiance and discipline, always playing like someone who has been told not enough too many times. Stefanski admired that. He respected that. More importantly, he believed that mindset could thrive in Cleveland, a city that has always responded to underdogs who refuse to quit. Reporters scrambled. Writers exchanged glances. Cameras zoomed in. The sudden vulnerability in Stefanski's tone lingered. This wasn't rumor. This wasn't speculation. This was a head coach, normally cautious to the point of mystery, speaking from a place that felt real, unfiltered, even emotional. As if he hadn't planned to say it, but felt it in a way that forced its way out. And as the words sank in, a wave of reactions spread across the Browns community. Fans online erupted into theories and anticipation. Analysts began dissecting every syllable of Stefanski's statement like forensic scientists. Former players chimed in, sensing a rare moment of honesty from a coach who never gives the league even a breadcrumb of insight into his internal thoughts. Everyone suddenly wanted to know, why say it? Why now? Why him? What made it even more gripping was the implication beneath Stefanski's tone. This wasn't a coach acknowledging interest. This was a coach imagining alignment. Imagining Gabriel's strengths fitting perfectly within the identity he's been trying to build in Cleveland for years. Discipline, poise, intelligence, grit, timing, resilience. Traits that Stefanski believes can carry a franchise through storms, through doubt, through the emotional terrain that breaks weaker quarterbacks. And somehow, without warning, without hype, without a dramatic speech or a long explanation, Stefanski declared that Gabriel had those traits. All of them, and he did it with a sincerity that could not be mistaken for PR spin. In a league where futures are rarely spoken out loud, where evaluations remain hidden behind layers of secrecy, Stefanski's comment felt monumental. It hinted at possibility. It hinted at hope. It hinted at something bigger than one quote, one moment, or one off-season rumor. It hinted that the Browns, after decades of wandering through quarterback limbo, may finally have identified a future worth believing in. Not hypothetically, not analytically, but emotionally. Dillon Gabriel has never stepped foot into the Browns facility. He has never thrown a pass in Stefanski's offense. And yet, in the unguarded honesty of one rare moment, Stefanski made it clear that if he ever does, everything could change. Kevin Stefanski just said the unthinkable about Dillon Gabriel's future. Nobody expected Kevin Stefanski to go there. Not on a quiet weekday media availability. Not with the season's intensity weighing on every word. And certainly not with cameras capturing every flicker of emotion on his face. Browns head coaches are usually guarded, careful, impossibly calculated. Stefanski, more than most, speaks like a man who believes every sentence must be engineered, every phrase airtight, every syllable free from chaos. But this time, something shifted. Something in his voice cracked open, revealing a truth he had held close for much longer than anyone realized. And in that moment, he said something that instantly reshaped the narrative around one of the most intriguing young quarterbacks connected to Cleveland, Dillon Gabriel. It didn't come through some dramatic build-up. There was no tension in the room.